CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's Epic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. Derek Thord back again with...
Jarza Arlong.
And it is good to be back at this. It's been a little bit of a break again. Just kind of a busy summer, so...
I would agree with that. It's good to be back, and it has been a very busy summer.
Yes, ways I didn't anticipate either, so... We're getting there, and another episode under our belt here.
I was looking the other day. We started House of Chains in the middle of October.
This book's probably taken us the longest to do then.
I think Memories of Ice took us about 9 months to do.
Yeah.
9 or 10 months, so...
We march to the beat of our own drum.
Right. Exactly.
Well, how you been, man? It's been a while since we've talked face to face like this.
Yeah, because you're so damn busy, you don't want to talk to me anymore.
We text.
Yeah, but it's just like ridiculous videos.
Yeah, it is. And I will have something on that for our episode bullshit, so don't let me forget that.
Okay, for sure. No, I've been okay. I got this like weird bug to just be creative. And maybe some of y'all have seen I post on Reddit about maybe bringing Malazan to life. So yeah, I just started designing Gano's Paran. Young and late teens. Sketching out various poses. Trying to get a sense of his character with shapes and silhouettes and stuff. So
cool.
Feel like I've got about 4 Photoshop files with just a bunch of sketching in it. So I think I found something that I like, and we'll start refining very shortly.
So like how much time have you put into that so far? Just curious, like...
I don't know, maybe 10, 15 hours.
Oh shit, it's quite a bit then.
Yeah.
So how many like pictures are in these 4 different files?
I gotta pull them up right here. There's this one, it's only got 3 layers. This other one only has 3 layers. And this other one only has 3 layers. But I had one file that had about 10 or 15 layers. And each of them had, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 poses.
I don't know what you mean by layers. It is a foreign language to me.
Oh, okay. I mean, you know what, like tracing paper, right?
Yeah.
You're familiar with that? Just think of it like that. So I have one sheet of tracing paper with a bunch of drawings on it. And then I put another one on top with a bunch of drawings on it. And then I put another one on top with a bunch of drawings on it. Being that it's all digital, I have the ability to turn them on and off. Yeah.
Nice. That's cool.
Maybe I'll give you a tour sometime.
All right. That's cool. I guess in my own creativeness quest, I know I've told you this, and I made an announcement in our Patreon group, but I have written a short story, very short. It's like 700-ish words, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, if I was going to do anything with it. And this writing contest popped up, and so I entered it into that. And they're taking submissions till like the end of August, I think. So I don't have any expectations out of it. You've read it, and a couple of other people have read it. Kevin was nice enough to give it a once over for me, and
Nice.
Since he's doing editing now, clean things up for me here, so it's semi-polished. Grammar and me don't get along. I was glad to have somebody who is good at it look at it and clean it up, make it look pretty for me.
Grammar army don't belong.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't really have any expectations out of it, but it's just kind of for fun. So We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Do we need to vote or anything? Like, do we need to like a call to action or anything, or just
No, there's it seems like if you're I don't know if you, Justin, will be familiar with like the Spiffo contest, the self-published I don't remember what it stands for exactly, but it's like a fantasy book competition.
I remember you
indie,
talking about it.
yeah, indie published, like you can do a standalone novel or like the first book in a series. And it's like they have groups of judges and they divide the books up and read them. This is the sense I get is it's kind of like that. There's I think 10 different like judges and they'll divide up the stories and go from there.
All right. Very cool. Well, best of luck. Really rooting for you. So hopefully you get something.
One thing I wanted to take care of here quick. Nate and Podcast of the Fallen, they've gotten, a few people have wondered where you guys have gone. I saw a post on Reddit. I saw a post on Facebook. Commented on both of them, and not to like take anything away from you guys, but I did mention our podcast in both of them. And actually, I thought it was the same guy in both posts, but it wasn't. So I hope you guys are doing well. Hope everything's all right. Haven't heard from you in a while, so thinking about you and hope life is just busy but good. So
if there's anything that we can do to help, please let us know.
Yeah, definitely reach out. Yeah, I shot him a message on Facebook Messenger the other day. Haven't heard back. I'm assuming he's just busy. So,
all right. Well, what do you say? Should we move on to our beautiful patrons here?
Yeah, we've screwed around for a little bit here. We should probably do something.
Yeah, we can't dally too much. All right. In order of subscription here, we've got Jan the Picker, Luciana Etrigan, Ryan the Topological, Damien Facing the Rock, Nate Fiddle Me This, Shield Anvil Dylan, Calvin He Who Witnessed, Livia the Malazan Potato, Aaron Mott Irregular, Scott the Only, Graceless Passion, Dead Smell, Gestriant, My Own Genesis, Alex the High Mage, Tyler the Great Raven, The Joyful Union, now we know what that is, Tony the Watch, Steve Bottle Kegs. Thank you so much, guys, for your patronage, and we apologize for the 3-week delay on this episode.
Yes. I do have one more thing to shout out here quick. Jan said to give a shout out to his Viking soccer/football team today as they are playing at home against, I don't know the Norwegian alphabet, Boda Glimt, who is, I guess, a big rival.
Okay.
Jan said he would let all the supporters and fans know that we were shouting them out so they'll listen to us. So we're counting.
Hell yeah.
Counting
Kick
on
some ass, guys. Kick some ass.
Counting on some new Norwegian friends here.
I love it.
All right. Epigraph for chapter 19. It was said the captain's adopted child, who at the time was known by the unfortunate name of Grub, refused the wagon on the march. That he walked the entire way, even as, in the first week beneath the year's hottest sun, fit and hale soldiers stumbled and fell. This is perhaps invention, for by all accounts he was at the time no more than 5 years of age, and the captain himself, from whose journals much of that journey and the clash in which it culminated is related in detail, writes very little of Grub, more concerned as he was with the rigors of command. As a result of the future fur sword of the late Empire period, scant details beyond the legendary and probably fictitious are known. Lives of the Three, Morrigail.
So isn't it kind of cool to know that Grub becomes the first sword?
I did not put that together as I read that.
What? I don't know. I just thought that was cool. What it means, or if we hear anything about it, I doubt it. But it's just kind of cool to know.
I thought it was talking about like the captain became. That's what I thought. I didn't I didn't realize that, but I think you make sense.
Okay. I just think I don't know, it's cool. Like, I just imagine that when this is being written, Grub is probably the current first sword.
He's all grown up.
Yep. Section here, the first section, I absolutely loved the way that we get introduced. Well, I guess not even really introduced, but just the way that this chapter starts off is just awesome. So, first section here, the buzzing of flies and wasps in the gorge accompanied a stench that had quickly become overpowering. On a small rise at the south side of the gorge, Fitzgamut removed his helmet and watched as the adjunct walked her horse through the carnage below. 300 Seti and 100 horses lay dead, mostly from arrows in the steep-sided ravine they had been led into. If Tamal had not ordered the Wiccans back to cover the main army, then they would have lost the Wiccans as well. Good on Tamal for bringing them back, as the Wiccans prevented another raid on the supply wagons. Just the Wiccans' presence alone was enough to make the enemy withdraw. It was easier to rely on error and judgment. The Seti, for example, that were not assigned to flank the vanguard had defied order and died as a result. Gamut thought that this was the last thing that they should give the enemy, was more stupid mistakes. Something in the scene before him made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. The adjunct rode alone alone through the slaughter, unmindful of her skittish horse as it progressed forward. Gamut thought to himself that it wasn't the flies that were trouble, but it was the wasps. One good sting to the horse and the horse would go crazy, attempting to climb the steep sides of the trench like the Seti horse warriors had tried to do in their fight for their lives. A man next to Gamut coughed due to the smell and then apologized. Gamut said there wasn't a need, as they were all too close. The man was asking on behalf of Tene Baralta if a healer was required. Gamut told the man that his answer lay before him. The man seemed to get the picture and mounted his horse and turned around. Gamut fixed his gaze back on the adjunct. She had reached the far end, where most of the bodies were piled up, heaped up against blood-sprayed stone walls. He watched her gather her reins and carefully retrace her steps. Gamut restored his helmet to his head. Tavor rode up and stopped next to him. He had never seen her expression so severe. Tavor said to Gamut that the war leader had left many of them wounded, anticipating that the Malazan armies would have reached them in time. Gamut wonders if the war leader meant to delay them because they'd have to patch up and take care of the wounded warriors. Tavor said that it was true. With the supplies being as scarce as they were, the loss of the wagons last night would be felt by all. Gamut wonders why Shaik waited for them to get this far and not as soon as they crossed the Vathar River. She could have bought a month or two or more had them far worse in shape than they are now. Tavor said that this was correct, but she had no answers for him. She tells Gamut that Tamal has gauged the raiding party to be just under 2,000. He's fairly certain the midday contact at the flank revealed their full force. Tavor said it was rather a large raiding party. Gamut thought on this and stated that it was almost as if they faced an enemy that was at odds with itself. Tavor agreed and then said that they need to focus on the war leader as he'll bleed them to death. Gamut swung his horse around and said that it would be more words with Gaul tonight. Tavor told the High Fist that she wanted the Marines out this night. Gamut seemed confused by this and asked if she wanted the Marines to beef up the picket lines. Tavor drew a deep breath and explained that in the year 1147, Oltar was faced with a similar situation. Gamut was like, I know exactly what you're talking about, and told her that the Marines would be then sent out that night, or tonight. Tavor told Gamut to make sure the Marines knew what was expected of them. Gamut said that there were veterans among them, and added that he planned to command the operation himself. Before Tavor could persuade him otherwise, he cut her off to say that he was going to do it. It was one thing to doubt the commander's measure, but entirely another to doubt his own. So yeah, just that whole like again, it just appeals to the visionary in me, and that I can just see her walking on her very skittish horse as it like picks its footing, and there's just carnage all around you, dead horses, dead Seti warriors, alive, wounded warriors, probably screaming in pain. So the scene was just so nicely set.
I kind of got the sense at this point, like by the time that they're showing up, everybody was dead. There wasn't really any injured left. They bled out or died or whatever. Is kind of what I thought.
Oh yeah, originally for sure, but then when they start talking about, Leonin leaving wounded for them to clean up, right? I remember thinking when the soldier coughs next to Gamut and they're like, "Hey, do we need a healer?" Gamut's like, "I don't know. What do you think?" I'm assuming, like, when I read that for the first time, I'm like, "Oh, there's definitely no need for healer because everybody's fucking dead." But
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I
so
agree.
but no, they definitely need a healer. So it was just kind of funny how like originally everything leads you in one direction and then you find out otherwise.
What a good dog.
Yeah, it's just kind of interesting. But my first thought is just this. Oh well, I guess I'll add on to the awesomeness. It's just it's cool that we don't even see or read about the skirmish, but you almost know exactly how it went. Like it's like your mind can almost fill in the gaps with just a few details that are here, and it adds to the already strikingness of the scene.
This is just coming to me now. I hadn't thought about this, but it reminds me a lot of that scene in Gardens of the Moon where Ganoz walks through that battlefield after the hounds ripped everybody up.
Would you say that's a parallel?
Now his sister's doing the same thing,
Maybe.
or a very similar thing, anyways.
Maybe. Because Tavor is a what of Paran?
She the shadow.
Ah, 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 ah. I don't know. It's kind of what it makes it set up to be. Like almost they're maybe like mirror images, except Tavor is like her own independent shadow, but there's still like this weird connection to her brother. I don't know.
Oh, dude. Okay. Let's keep going with this for a second. Ganoz was on like the coast, right? He could see the ocean, right? It was like
Yeah,
right
it was
there.
Itgo Khan, right? It was that first chapter of Gardens of the Moon. Don't even say it. It was the first chapter. It's immediately after we get the scene with Riga and the Fisher girl, right? Sorry, slash Apsalar, right?
Yeah. No, but I'm just thinking because like you got water there with Ganoz, and now Tavor. She's like in the desert.
Yep.
So you got like the opposites there. And what happened to Ganoz shortly after that?
He gets recruited to Lorne.
Didn't he got stabbed pretty quickly after that too, didn't he?
Yes. When he gets into Jerujistan for the first time.
In like the chest or the stomach or whatever.
Yeah. He gets stabbed twice.
Think Tavor will be attacked? Maybe she'll get stabbed in the back.
No, I don't think Tavora will get attacked.
I'm just trying to take this further, that's all.
I'm sure there will be more instances of this mirrorness, this reflection, right? I don't know. I just think that the three Parans and the light, shadow, and dark have some type of commonality. So they're almost a shadow of themselves. Where you go with this, I don't know, but I mean, no one's told me I'm wrong yet. So I'm assuming it's so minorly inconvenient to be wrong that nobody's saying anything, or like I'm spot on and nobody's saying anything because they don't want to give it away.
Or they just enjoy the crazy
lunacy.
theories.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like our theories have stepped up. I feel like they are not so much left field anymore, but like left of center slightly.
I will have one for you in this chapter, unless you've thought of it.
Ooh, maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. Let's move on.
Sure.
So maybe here's some division from our previous episode. kind of sneaking back into this episode. But the Seti did not do what they were supposed to do, and therefore ended up losing their lives. And I would see that as an unforeseen circumstance and potentially the beginning of maybe some unforeseen circumstances. I know that you have some rebuttals to that because why?
I mean, they disobeyed orders, right?
But from a command standpoint, you wouldn't call that unforeseen.
Not if you disobey orders. I mean, if like I guess in like wartime, everything is a risk, I suppose. But if you're given orders, you're supposed to follow them. They didn't follow their orders, and some bad stuff happened. And I think that's not that something bad couldn't have happened if they did follow their orders still, but maybe it would have been less likely.
Or they wouldn't have been led into a trench and absolutely annihilated, right?
Right.
I'm just saying, like, from the perspective of it being an unforeseen circumstance.
I would call it bad judgment.
Okay. All right. Splitting hairs.
Kind of, yeah.
Whatever. This part where Gammon is watching Tavor, walk through this carnage. And there's something about what he's seeing that is making the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. And I'm almost kind of wondering if that is like foreshadowing to something, like Tavor, right? Cold iron poised, walking towards her sister. Or is it merely just like the gruesomeness of the scene that makes Gamut's neck hair raised?
I don't know. Maybe it's some of both.
Or it could just be because shortly thereafter, he talks about the wasps. Like maybe that's what made his hackles rise. Is like, oh God, there's a good possibility that horse is going to get stung and go crazy.
I
So
suppose
maybe
that could be too. Yeah.
maybe we're overanalyzing, or I'm overanalyzing that part. And then also this part where, as he's talking about the potential of the horse being stung by a wasp, it's crazy attempt to ride up the steep hill. It's said that this is what the Seti horses were doing, trying to escape for their lives, is climb up this steep hill. And I'm assuming they would just fall back on their backs as they were trying to climb. They were unsuccessful, probably breaking warriors' necks and backs by falling. And yeah, it's just chaos. And, you could just get a nice, cool sense of what happened without actually reading what happened.
Yeah, a lot of chaos going on. Probably just a mess.
Yeah. But then also this whole like wounded warriors thing, like I never would have imagined something like that. Like that being a tactic.
Yeah, no, like it's not unheard of in the real world. I know I'm like World War II, for example, and I guess I don't know about like Vietnam or any other wars, but snipers would either like try to take out the medics so that they couldn't heal people. Because like I'm thinking of like Saving Private Ryan in World War II, but like the medics, they always had that arm patch on their arm to identify them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of made you a target. So if you're attending to somebody who's wounded, I don't know if there's actually like any rules to it where you're not supposed to shoot the medic, but I mean,
That's what I always thought, is that you weren't supposed to, because he's not there to fight. He's not there to fight you, right? So
yeah.
I've heard both, so I'm not sure. I'm not gonna go find out, but
I mean it's brutal and it's nasty, but I mean that's kind of what I thought of, is that like if you don't have the medics to take care of these wounded soldiers, they just become that much more of a burden. And not that, in this instance, they weren't going after the medics, they're just trying to slow them down.
Right. Exactly. Well, I know in At the Gates, which I love that movie, by the way, they shoot some type of electrical component. And so they send soldiers out to go feed wire to it. And they just snipe the soldiers.
Oh, yeah. That movie's brutal, yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie. But yeah, so it was just kind of cool. I wasn't expecting it, so it was just like a nice little type moment. But I'm not very military inclined, which you'll see some of my confusion later on.
I like watching war movies and stuff. I'm not, an expert by any means, but I like that type of stuff. So I'll try to help you out as best I can.
Fucking awesome, sweet. Couple more things here. This part where Tabor and Gamut are talking about how the Whirlwind Army seems to be at odds with themselves, that their enemy seem to be at odds with themselves. And this is honestly my thought as well, going back to even the previous chapter with, Rouleau and Dom kind of not really agreeing on the Whirlwind and allowing potentially a claw into its midst, going back to Febrile and his plans for betrayal, right? Haboric kind of doing his own thing now that he's the destriant of Treach. Shaik, younger, and Lorik kind of hiding away in Toblakai's camp. And then as well as, Karza's not even there. Like, that's what I envision when I think of the Apocalypse Army is like, yeah, they may be strong. They're they definitely can do some damage, but there's no organization there. It's chaos. So I would agree with that sentiment.
I think the only thing I would differ on that with you is just like from our standpoint as a reader, like we know more than these characters do. I don't see it so much as at odds with itself, just because of the perspective that we have. I think to me it just feels like Leoman is kind of going rogue here, just to some extent. Like he's not supposed to be engaging, but he's doing it anyways. So I can see why they think like they seem to be kind of fighting themselves or whatever. But it's just you've got a guy kind of cowboying it up a little bit here, doing his own
Kind of
thing.
going rogue.
Yeah.
I guess I just look at it as a whole, right? Like Febric, or not Febric, Febrile.
Everett. Oh
Yeah,
boy.
Febric.
The character we didn't know we needed.
Uh-huh, right. Febrile and his scheming to take over the Whirlwind, Bidithal, and whether he joins the conspirators or he doesn't, it just doesn't seem like anyone is on a unifying front.
No.
So that's kind of what I immediately went to, but I definitely see your point too about Leoman just kind of going rogue. But I mean, he kind of explains why at the end, which we can talk about.
Sure.
And then last thing, war leader seems to be something that comes up quite a bit in this chapter. And I think it's funny that they say war leader, but I don't immediately think of Leoman. I think of Karza, right? And I wonder if there's maybe some intentional wordplay that is meant to be unintentional, if that makes any sense. Like, it's funny that he's choosing to use this word when up to this point, war leader is such an association with Karza at this point. Like, I feel like the meaning of war leader is almost skewed a little bit because it's so associated with Karza.
I agree. I would think Karza first.
I don't know what that means.
Korab does, I don't know if he says it out loud, but I think he does think of Leoman as the war leader, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. So we see it on both sides. We see it from the Malazan's perspective, and we see it from the Raiders' perspective, right? So my guess is the Malazans don't know who the war leader is. Like, they haven't put a face to the name, so to speak. So I almost kind of wonder if near the end, Karza slips in and becomes the war leader, and then everything that has been done like falls on him or something like that. I don't know. Like somehow he takes the blame.
We can read and find out.
Mm-hmm. We're close, dude. We're so close.
I know this next chapter is like 30-ish pages.
Yeah, it goes to 802 is what I'm seeing here. 804. So we got about 200-ish pages left after this chapter, which should go quick because usually his chapters are 30 to 40 pages. So
Be nice
But-
if we can keep some consistency going.
Yes, yes. I don't have anything coming up in the next 5 or 6 weeks, so I should be able to hopefully get this chapter read today and then start summarizing tomorrow or the next day. But yeah, that was all my thoughts for that very wonderfully opening to this chapter.
All right. Well, we'll go with my first one here. There were 3 types of scorpion in the Odhan, and not one liked the other. Early in the second week, Strings had talked to his 2 sergeants and told them his plan. Gessler and Borduk were both agreeable to the plan, especially the part where they split the profits. They drew stones, and Borduk drew the stone that allowed him to pick first. He chose the red-backed bastard, the meanest of the 3. Gessler went next and picked the In-Out, named for its transparent exoskeleton, and if you looked close, you could see the poisons within it. They looked at String sadly as he was left with the bird shit scorpion. It was tiny and black and looked like its name suggested, but since they were splitting their profits 3 ways, it didn't really matter who had what scorpion, except if they made their own secret side bets. Neither Gessler or Borduk saw Gessler's hint of a smile, or that should be Strings, saw Strings' hint of a smile, or his glance towards Cuddle, who sat in the shade of a boulder and nodded back. They needed to find their busy little creatures on the march, or when that failed at night, when they were more likely to emerge looking for something to kill. Word spread quickly, and soon bets were pouring in. Maybe was chosen to be the bookie, keeping track of the wagers. Then one holder was selected from each squad, who then picked a trainer. The afternoon after the raid and the slaughter of the Seti, Strings had slowed his march to fall in line with Bottle and Tar, and despite his casualness, his stomach was churning. The 14th had found its own scorpion out in the desert, and it had just delivered its first sting. The mood of the soldiers wasn't great, and confidence was low. No one believed the first blood they would taste would be their own. Strings thought they needed to get their minds off of it. He asked Bottle how Joyful was. Bottle replied that he was hungry and nasty as ever. Then he asked Tar how the training was going. He said okay, but would be better when he figured out what kind of training he actually needed. String said good, and that the first battle would be tonight, 1 bell after camp is set. Bottle was surprised they would be doing that just after the fight they had. String said Gessler and Borduk were getting their little beauties ready, same as them. They would be ready. Tar said it would draw a big crowd. The lieutenant would wonder what was going on. String said it probably wouldn't be just the lieutenant. However, there wouldn't be much of a crowd. They would use the old word line system, run the commentary back through the whole camp. Bottle said Joyful was going to get destroyed, and he had been feeding her Cape Moths every night, then spent half the night cleaning herself up, licking her lips. Smiled, questions the lip statement, saying he didn't think scorpions had any. Bottle clapped back, saying what did he know? He doesn't even get close enough. Smiles cut him off, saying when he gets close to a scorpion, he kills it like any normal person. Bottle said he wasn't sane. He just pulls them apart piece by piece, and he's never seen anything so cruel. Tar said he wondered where it all went. Bottle agreed. It was so tiny. String said it was their secret. The group didn't know what he meant. He said why he picked bird shit. They said he didn't get to pick bird shit. String smiled and said hunting is one thing, killing is another. When they have to protect their territory or their young, that's when the surprises come out. Did Bottle think Joyful was going to lose tonight? Strings always had their feelings in mind. Bottle said he could drop the Strings bit. They knew his real name. String said it had better not get out to command. Bottle said it wouldn't, at least not on purpose. Who could say what would happen in battle? Strings asked who would pay attention to their panic screams in the thick of battle. He told them to be careful of what they said and when. They asked what Strings had in store. He said he wouldn't tell them. They would have to wait and see. Strings went quiet as he saw riders approach. He told his soldiers to straighten up. Officers were coming. It was Fist Gamut, and he thought he was looking old, and getting pulled out of retirement was never a good thing. He knew since the first thing a soldier put away was his nerve, and it was damn near impossible to get that back. Fiddler felt a rumble of nervousness. With Gamut was Captain Kenneb and Lieutenant Renal. Renal called out to Strings for a private conversation with Cuddle to join them as well. Gessler and Stormy were to come back to them double time. Gamut said 4 should be enough to get the proper instruction out to the other squads. When they were assembled, Gamut said it would be easy to tell they were vets and that they have marched these lands before. He didn't need any more info than that, but he did rely on their experience. The adjutant wants the Marines to answer the Desert Raiders tonight. Everyone was quiet for a moment before Kenneth spoke up, saying DeSem's answer all those years ago. It was a good thing they were using the word line tonight. Simple enough once the three-way fight was over. He continued, asking if it was correct. Fiddler had bird shit, and if so, what were the odds looking like now? Fiddler said it was about 40-1 right now. Kenneb said it was better than he expected, and that he had convinced the Fist to back his Scorpion as well. Kenneb said 10 jacatas. Fiddler said they would do their best. Gessler turned to Stormy and asked if he smelled something. Stormy, with his flint sword, said there were no scorpions on the coast, and he smelled something all right. Cuddle said to get used to it. Renal looked confused, like me. Kenneb said to use the word lines and to make sure the toughest squads are the ones smiling. Fiddler agreed and wondered if he needed to reassess the captain. Kenneb then added that Fist Gamut would be running the op tonight, so he wanted his and Borduk's squad to double their duty tonight. Fiddler wasn't happy about it, but simply agreed.
Nice.
All right. Well, I've got a couple thoughts here.
Just a couple.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it kind of shifts paces a little bit.
Yeah. And some of it, some of it just not that much to talk about, I don't think.
It's
seeing
fairly
Scorpions
straightforward.
is cool. Yeah. My first thought, though, it says the 14th had found its own Scorpion out in the desert, and it had just delivered its first sting. I suppose, I didn't really know what they meant, but I suppose that must be the Raiders.
You're correct. Yep.
Gotcha. So then when we get the first instance where we get the name Joyful, I was like, oh, okay. That's got to be where that nickname comes from. I imagine you had similar thought.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, exactly. And yep, when I found its full name out, because they just say Joyful here, I'm like, oh. So that was really cool. That has nothing to do with the story, but it has more to do with our patrons. But that was cool. That I thought it was from like some other series or something, but no, totally. Yeah.
I had no idea what it meant, so that's cool to get that reveal for us.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was definitely exciting for me.
Yeah. This word line thing, I assume, is just like a game of telephone.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of a way of being entertained without having to gather around, like watching TV, right? Like you don't actually have to go to the arena to watch the thing. You can just use the line.
I don't remember who, but one of the dudes pulls scorpions apart, pulls the pinchers off, pulls their stingers off, and
Smiles does that.
Because
she's afraid of bugs, so she tortures them.
Still kind of cruel. Yes, I agree with that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You got the wrong character.
To be fair, I would probably, if I found a scorpion in my house, which we don't have them here, thankfully. I would kill it, but I don't think I'd rip it apart piece by piece. I don't know that I'd be brave enough to try to catch it and get it outside,
Yeah.
Thankfully, not something we have to deal with.
No, not at all. Absolutely not.
Tar says he wondered where it all went. And I'm assuming he must mean the Cape moths that he was feeding the scorpion.
Yeah. Because
he's just a little tiny scorpion.
But yeah, and Cape moths, from what I understand, are the equivalent of small birds in this world. So they're fairly big in compared to a scorpion.
Yeah, I mean, unless these are larger than average scorpions.
But also, Strings or Fiddler kind of takes this moment to be all like, well, that's a surprise. And they're like, well, what do you mean? You know? And I didn't catch it at first either. But it's because there's two of them. There's two scorpions mowing down on a cape moth instead of one. They're assuming it's just one stomach that is holding the entire cape moth, but it's two.
Okay, so I wasn't sure when I was going to bring this up. So like the bird shit species scorpions, do you
Mhm.
think all of them are able to split apart like this? Or no?
Yes, I think that like this is their species, which kind of plays into your last comment where you're like, I have no idea what Stormy is talking about.
But don't you think that would be kind of like widely known then?
Not necessarily, because Stormy kind of explains that too in his very 1-2 sentence thing. I'm assuming that they're only native to this area. My guess is that they're not found anywhere else. So I would say no, it's not widely known unless you're familiar with it, right? Fiddler has been in this area before, whereas Borduke and Gessler, I don't know where Borduke is from, but Gessler is primarily on the coast.
Because I had a stupid thought that I think you will appreciate.
Hey, I love stupid thoughts. I have tons of them. So what's up?
I was like, I wonder if this scorpion is Quick Ben.
You're fucking dumb. I don't like you. Stop. Go away. We're done. It's over.
No, that was a serious thought. I'm like,
Are you serious?
semi-serious, yeah.
You can't be serious.
Well, if it was like a widely known, if it was even like semi-known that this, I almost called it a spider, the scorpion could like split itself or whatever. I don't really know how that works. Then I would feel like that would be the one that you would want. It seems kind of like an advantage.
Right. But this is why Fiddler smiled and grinned when at the beginning he, was just left. Oh, we feel so bad for you. You got this piece of shit scorpion. Like, you're going to lose. Like, you know what I mean? And then even in this section where Fiddler's like, yeah, when I chose bird shit, and everyone's like, you chose him. Doesn't seem to be the tale that I've heard. You know what I mean? So it's setting this up for this like underdog type story when really the scorpion is two of them.
Oh, the underdog story that happens in every sports movie, Justin. Let me just throw that one back in your face.
There you go. See? I don't remember that conversation at all.
It was earlier this book, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, everybody loves the underdog story, so is it a little cliche? For sure, but I think it's done and executed in a unique way. I did not expect the scorpion thing to be anything that I would read about and like in a book. You know what I mean?
Yeah. My last thought here, Stormy's got his, I don't know. I probably didn't need to include his sword, but it mentioned it, so I just threw it in as well. But so there's no scorpions on the coast, and he smelled something. I don't understand what they're asking if he smelled something. They smelled something funny, and that's just the scorpion can split apart.
So here's where we go back to the previous conversation, and it took me a little bit to figure this out too. Like, I did not immediately pick this up because I was just as confused by this as well. But as I was reading, I don't know, like an hour and a half before we started recording, Keneb and Gamut are asking Fiddler what the odds are, right? And Fiddler says it's about 40-1 right now, which means that Joyful Union is going to lose, right? Like, the odds are against it. Keneb said that it was better than he had expected, and he had convinced Gamut to put money or bet on the Joyful Union as well. And Gessler, at that point, after hearing that, turns to Stormy and asked if he smelled something. right? So kind of like I smell something up, like you're personifying catching wind of something, right? Like something that I don't, right?
They're sniffing out the plan.
Right. Or they're starting to get like, okay, there's definitely some deceit afoot here. And then he turns to Stormy and he is like, do you smell something? And Stormy's like, you know what? There's no scorpions on the coast, kind of implying that they don't know anything about scorpions. But yeah, it definitely smells like something's up.
Mhm.
You know what I
Gotcha.
mean? So that's kind of my interpretation of that. Yeah. Is they're catching wind that something's up, but they don't know what because they've never battled scorpions before, and on the coast they're probably not as common.
Gotcha. All right. That was all I had.
All right. Well, we will move on to the next section here. The soldiers of the 14th Army were strangely arrayed throughout the encampment. Following the camp's meal, the activity seemed to die suddenly, outside of the reluctant soldiers marching out of the picket lines. In one particular place, though, centered around the Marines of the Ninth Company and the 8th Legion, a different assembly of soldiers was taking place. A smallish, exclusive ring surrounding another ring of daggers thrust into the ground. Maybe was the last to join. He nodded to Fiddler that he was ready. Fiddler instructed Bottle to bring out Joyful Union. Borduke and Gessler did the same for their respective scorpions. The red-backed bastard had been named Mangonel by Borduke's squad, while Gessler's squad named their in-out Scorpion Clawmaster. The 3 boxes containing scorpions were brought out. Fiddler explains they'll each examine each other's scorpions and so swear to whatever god they worship that no alterations had been made by either sorcery or alchemy. Fiddler took a look at Mangonel and Clawmaster and then swore upon the ghosts of the dead house that no alterations had been made. Gessler followed behind Fiddler, taking a look at Joyful Union, but couldn't find anything, even though he knew there was something he was missing. He then swore upon Treach and Fenner. It was Borduke's turn to examine Joyful Union. He got as close as possible without being stung. Borduke leaned back and stated that he should know more about these creatures, but all he does is stamp on them like any sane person would do. He goes on a small tangent about knowing a whore once who had a golden scorpion between her breasts. He goes into explicit details. He is cut off by Gessler telling him to get on with it. Borduke told the man that he didn't like to be rushed. Gessler replied that he wouldn't rush him, but to swear the man's vows before he got a boner. Borduke swears his vows to the Queen of Dreams that Joyful Union has not been tampered with. After some lingering talk, Fiddler asked if they were ready. Gessler asked Fiddler if the bird-ship scorpion would just hide until the other two beat the shit out of each other, and that Joyful Union was just really smart. Fid shrugged and said he didn't know anything about that. Gessler could be seen clenching his jaw as he leaned back. Fid asked Cuddle how the word line was going. Cuddle affirmed that everything that had been said had been repeated down the line. Fiddler instructed that the fight would begin and put the scorpions into the arena. The boxes were lifted and the scorpions were dumped out. Mangonel was the first to land, then Clawmaster, and then Joyful Union. Gessler commented that if Joyful Union plucked knives from the ground around the arena and used them, he was going to kill Fiddler. Fiddler told the man there was no need. Ib was commentating on the action inside the ring. Suddenly, 3 things happened at once. Joyful Union sauntered into the middle of the ring and then froze. Mangonel had its weapons ready, and Clawmaster made a break for the boundary. Then, after the frozen moment, Joyful Union lifted its tail. All were in disbelief but Fiddler, as Joyful Union seemed to split into 2, one racing out to Mangonel and the other to Clawmaster. They both did their best, but were no match for the speed of the pair of bird-ship scorpions. Within moments, Joyful Union had defeated the other 2. They rushed back to each other and joined as one again. Stormy raged and said that Fiddler had cheated. Both Truth and Gessler had to hold the Golden Man back, explaining that he had looked and found nothing wrong with Joyful Union. He had sworn to Treach and Fenner, not knowing that Joyful Union was anything but a cute name. Fiddler glanced up at Cuddle and mouthed that they would be rich. Fiddler watched Stormy and Truth take the raging Stormy away. Fiddler then crouched down near Ib. He explains that what he's about to say is only for the Marines. They were about to become their own Joyful Unions to a big bagged, bread-backed bastard. He will explain that the adjunct has ordered, and Ib was to repeat every word he had said and pass it down the line. I was actually quite surprised at how well I was able to summarize, because this was kind of a longer section. So to get it done in less than a page was pretty cool to me, but very straightforward. You know, it's cockfighting for scorpions, essentially.
Sorry, I've got one cat in here and the other one's sticking its paw in, and they're not quite scorpion fighting each other, but
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. I'm assuming the fat cat is just chilling, right?
no.
Oh, she's the one on patting him
No.
around.
Well, she's the one who likes to be left alone.
Ah. My first thought here is when they're swearing upon the gods. I think it's interesting that Fiddler doesn't swear upon a god. He swears upon Tremolor and a Zath house, which I didn't know that those could be worshipped. Or if it's just like a defiance thing, like I don't actually believe in any god, so I'm just going to pick this one thing that gives me nightmares.
I didn't think about that at all.
I'm wondering if there's something there or if it's just it is what it is, you know.
Could be both.
Right, yeah. Very, very easily. This part where Gessler is looking at Joyful Union, he's expecting it, sees nothing wrong. And I didn't summarize it, but he even confers with a couple of other soldiers, like, hey, do you see anything? You know, because, like, again, from your previous section, he knows something is up, right? And he's looking for it and he can't find it, you know? So I just love that, because even with the assistance of two others in adding their opinion about Joyful Union, eventually he, you know, acquiesces, swears upon Treach and Fenner, and moves on. But, you know, just, I know what that's like to agree to something, but you know that something is looming behind it, you know.
Sure.
This next part where Borduke is talking about stamping on scorpions like any sane person would do. I kind of like how that ties back into what Smiles was saying in her previous section about killing the scorpions, because that's what any sane person would do. So I just kind of liked that similarity there. Yeah. And then this part where, you know, the boner part. So this is just kind of my interpretation on what I would imagine as a very comedic scene. And so here's my interpretation of Gessler saying, before my heart flies out to fill my breeches. He didn't say boner. That's what he says when Borduke is talking about this whore with the scorpion between her tits, right? And we all know how the male anatomy works. So I'm assuming that this is what he means by his heart flying out to fill his breeches, insinuating that if he listens to Borduke talk about this woman's breasts, his heart was going to begin pumping blood to erect his penis and fill his breeches. And so I just thought that that was fucking hilarious, right? Again, it goes back to Gessler threatening Coltane to give his crack thong thing a whack. You know, it's just funny because, like, you have to think about what he means. What does it mean before my heart flies out to fill my breeches? If you pay no attention to it, you have no idea. But if you're, you know, think about it, it adds just a little bit more to the scene, right? And it kind of makes what happens next a little bit more contrasty, right? Like, you've got these first, you know, you start off with some very depressive, sad stuff, and then you kind of get this comedic relief, which is exactly what it's supposed to do for not only us, the readers, but Fiddler is doing this to ease the tension of everybody, right? Like a little bit of entertainment after some really messed up shit happened, right? To get their minds right, a chance to reset before what else is to happen, you know? Like Fiddler is showing his what's the word I'm looking for? Acumen here. He's showing his military understanding, his military acumen of how things progress, right? He knows there's another battle coming up. He doesn't know when. He does now, so it's just a little bit of a reprieve, and it makes me like Fiddler that much more.
I don't have anything to add.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to let you down.
No, it's okay. I don't always want to feel like I'm stealing the thunder.
You are not.
Okay, well, with that, I had one more.
You had two more.
Sorry. Blah, blah, blah. And then it's funny because, at the end, they're relaying the orders down the line, and they were about to become their own joyful union to a big, bad, redback bastard. And I think it's funny because I didn't catch it before, but they occupied 2 barrows. They occupied 2 hills. So therefore, joyful union, right? Joyful union split into 2 to fight, and now they are doing the same thing. They're splitting their forces, one to occupy 1 barrow, one to occupy another.
Was it only 2? I guess I didn't remember if it was more than that.
Well, I think it was 2 in particular, and then there's like a ridgeline, Marines buried between the barrows, but I think the barrows were meant to be the distraction.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Good catch.
Thank you. Lastly, he will explain that the adjunct is ordered, and Ib was to repeat every word. I think I just highlighted the last line here because I love this section, and between the first one and this one, I would say they compete to be my favorite of this chapter. And I could just see it in my head: the Scorpions fighting, Ib commentating like an announcer in boxing and passing that down the line. I don't know. It was a nice reprieve to what came next.
Yeah, it was a good section for sure. I don't know if I like it more than where we get the battle going back and forth or not, but it's definitely up there for me too.
Awesome. Yeah, it was a good chapter. Unexpected chapter for sure.
Yeah.
But that's all I had for that section.
All right. 3 bells had passed since sunset. Dust from the whirlwind wall clouded the stars, making the darkness beyond the fires almost impenetrable. Fresh soldiers relieved those on watch at the pickets. In the Kundral camp, the warriors removed their heavy armor to rest for the night, while along the trenches Wiccan and Seti horse warriors patrolled. Fiddler returned from the wagons with his equipment bag and opened it. Cuddle watched as Fiddler removed objects wrapped in hide of different shapes. In a few moments, he had assembled a dozen or so objects and began to take the hide wrapping off, showing the glint of polished wood and black iron. The others in the squad were quietly looking over their armor and weapons one last time as tension mounted. Cuddle told Fiddler it had been a while since he had seen one of those, but he had seen imitations, some almost as good as the real deal. Fiddler grunted and said there were a few out there, and it was the knockback you needed to watch out for. If it's too hard, the whole damn thing would explode. Him and Hedge had worked out this design, then found a Mayor jeweler in Malazan City. What she was doing there, they had no idea. Cuddle was surprised it wasn't a weaponsmith. As Fiddler assembled the crossbow, he said a wood carver for the stops and plugs that would need to be replaced every 20 shots or so. Cuddle asked if that's when they were pulped. He said yes, or they would split. It's the ribs. When they spring back, that's what sends the shockwave forward, different from a regular crossbow where the quarrel is fast enough to get out of the slot and avoid the vibration. However, these were heavy and slow, so they needed something to absorb the knockback before it got to the quarrel shaft. Cuddle said the clay ball was a clever idea. Fiddler said it had worked so far. Cuddle asked what would happen if it didn't. Fiddler said it would suddenly not be his problem. Cuddle asked if they had sharpers on them. Fiddler said no, he can throw those. Cuddle said the crossbow could throw cussers far enough then. Fiddler said the idea was to aim, then shoot, and hit the deck. Cuddle said that seems smart. Just let them know when he's about to shoot. Fiddler said he would be nice and loud. Cuddle wanted to know what word he should listen for. Fiddler said duck, or what Hedge used to do, which was a terrified scream. He told the soldiers it was time. I don't know if I had any comments on this section. No, yeah, I did. We just get Fiddler putting together a big old crossbow.
Right. I like the intricacies of the explanation of the crossbow. Like that's cool, but yeah, it seems very much like a preparatory section. It's just preparing for what they're gonna do next.
Yeah.
And I feel like at this point in the chapter, it goes by really quick. Even summarizing it was just like, oh, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, we had what do we have, like 17 sections in this chapter or something? But yeah, they get kind of short.
Yeah. All right. Section 5 here. When the last of the grains trickled down in the hourglass, the adjutant turned to Gamut and asked when he would join his troops. He replied and told her that he was leaving shortly, but would stay on his horse the whole time, and he will not ride out to them until the fighting starts. He saw her frown at that, and then saw her focus shift to that of Nil and Nether. The adjutant asked if they had finished their rituals. Nil said that they had spoken to the spirits. Adjutant wondered at this, and Nil explained that they could have tried to persuade the spirits, but their powers have not been as it once was. Nether added that the spirits of the land were agitated and distracted as something else was going on. Nether explained that if the Desert Raiders have a shaman among them, then there was little chance the secret would be revealed. Before Tavor could speak, Gamut announced that he would be leaving. He left, and they resumed their conversation. A haze had entered his mind the moments before a battle when uncertainty caused unease and confusion. He had heard of other commanders suffering the same. His blood was pumping, and it created a wall of sound in his head, dulling the other senses. As he made his way to his horse, he shook his head in an attempt to clear the brain fog. The adjunct had been visibly upset by his choice to ride into battle, but the mobility was worth the risk. He set out through the camp at a slow pace. Fires had been allowed to die, and the scenery around him felt ethereal. He passed two figures hunched over some coals. He envied their freedom, as life was simpler as a soldier. Gamut had begun to doubt the ability of his command. He thought to himself that age didn't guarantee wisdom. It's more than that, though. She had made him fist and given him a legion. None of the events were an assurance of his competence. Tonight would be his first test as a commander. He tells the gods that he should have stayed retired. He should have refused her insistence, or rather, her assumption that he would simply accept her wishes for him to command. He had come to believe that there was a weakness inside of him. A fool would say it's his mental composure, but he knew better. He rode on, the fog of his mind getting heavier as he progressed forward.
It's almost like he's got like shell shock.
Yeah, he's definitely not in his right mind. Towards the end of the chapter, we see this. We for sure see it. I get the sense that he's like psyching himself out, Like you've done this before, but maybe it's been a while, so you're doing it again, and you like know what you need to do, but you're just like you're psyching yourself out.
Well, it's different because he's got such a high command now too. So it's the same but different, I guess.
Yeah, like an expectation. Like people are looking at me to perform, but I've never done this before, so that's fair. That's a good point. This part where Nil explains that the powers had not been as it once was, I don't recall. What do you know why that is? Why are their powers not good as they used to be? Is it purely just because Coltane's dead, or like I can't remember the reason why.
Didn't it have something to do with what side of the river they were on?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I thought there was something. Maybe that was when they were going the other way. I don't remember. I thought there was something where like they got to one of the sides of the river and that there was like less spirits or something, and so their powers weren't.
Maybe. I know that, in Deadhouse Gates, they couldn't access their warrens because what the crippled god was doing with the warrens that we found out in Memories of Ice. So I don't know. I guess community, please enlighten me. It was spoiler free, of course. But and if that's a spoiler, I guess maybe I'll find out eventually. Maybe we don't know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember specifically, I guess.
Okay. Oh well. Nether kind of talks about, well, even if the other side has a shaman, there's still a small chance that they would reveal anything either. And I think that the spirits are agitated and distracted by Karza and the Seven, as I think that this particular area that they're in was probably predominantly ran or run by the Amass, like the human form Amass. So I think that the spirits here are Amass spirits. So I
Why
think
do you
that
think
they
that?
are, because Seven Cities just gives me the sense of Amass.
Okay. I don't know if you're right or wrong.
I don't know if I'm either, but it just kind of seems, I don't know. I feel like in almost every book is some type of theme with the Amass, whether it's a big theme or a small theme. But I think that the majority of Seven Cities was ran and ruled by Amass, and this was before they went tyrannical, right? And they vowed to kill every Jaghead.
All right.
All right. Last thought. Oh, not even. Wow. Of course, Nil, Nether, and Tavor get to have this conversation about, what's going on with the spirits. And then, of course, we have to follow Gamut instead of staying in the room and getting to listen in on this conversation. So I was like, come on, I want to know too. Just a very obvious point of subversion by Mr. Erickson here, which is fine. I'm not gonna go rampage. I'm not gonna stormy out.
Maybe
But
you should.
I don't want to.
Okay.
All right. This haze had entered Gamut's mind moments before a battle, when uncertainty caused unease and confusion. And I don't know this haze when it pertains to like a battle per se, but I'm sure felt it in regards to like other things that I've experienced in my life. Your mind is just dwelling on thoughts, and the outside world just becomes invisible as you fade away from it. And I just thought that this was a really cool way to show like almost a sudden rush of adrenaline or along those lines, like it's finally setting in your mind that like, oh shit, I gotta go do this, and the butterflies that you feel in your stomach. I could feel what he's going through, but not necessarily in his particular situation, but I can empathize.
It almost feels like he's got that like 1,000-yard stare. I don't know that I'd quite go so far to say as like he's on the verge of like a panic attack, but
No.
That's kind of what that haze makes me think of. Like he's not, I don't think he's focused.
Right. I would agree. Yeah, he's like trying to focus, but for some reason he just can't.
Right.
He passed two figures hunched over some coals, and he envied their freedom. His life was simpler as a soldier. And I kind of don't really know how I per se feel about that. Part of me wants to agree, part of me doesn't want to agree. Maybe to a certain aspect. One might be easier than the other, but I guess I'm more looking for your thoughts.
Well, I think as like a soldier, just a simple soldier, you don't have to worry about command. You just have to try to stay alive. You don't have to worry about like, Gamut's going to have to worry like, did I make the right call here? Should I have done something different? That type of deal.
Okay, fair enough.
There's just more. You have people's lives in your hand, and a soldier as a soldier, you
only have to worry about your own.
I mean, and do you even have that to worry about? Because you might not have any control over that.
Wouldn't you say that they're well, yeah, I guess, is that freedom though that you would envy, not having a choice whether you live or die?
Maybe that's less burdensome than having the choice of
sending massive people to their death. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Which
they both
group?
have their chains, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I did it again. Okay, I'm done. We can move on.
All right. 800 warriors crouched motionless and nearly invisible among the boulders on the plain. Korab, Bylan, Thenu, alas, felt the rush of dark pride, even as the other part of his mind wondered why Leoman felt hesitation. Their war leader laid flat on the slope just to their right and had not moved in a while, and despite the cool weather, sweat dripped under Korab's armor. He shifted his grip on his new and unfamiliar weapon, a tulwar. He had preferred an axe-type weapon, something with a haft he could grip if he needed to. He didn't like the blade coming down to the hilt. He thought to himself that he was a warrior who didn't like sharp edges close to his body, and wondered what Spirit thought of that irony as he cursed them all. He had run out of patience and crawled next to Leoman of the Flails. Looking over the Malazan camp, Gorab said it was a foolish spot to stop, and he didn't think they needed to worry about this adjunct. Leoman said yes, plenty of cover for their approach. Gorab asked why then they waited. Leoman said he was wondering about the Empress. She was once the mistress of the Claw, their fierceness shaped by her, and all they had learned to fear those assassin mages. Ominous origins. Then, as Empress, she had great leaders in her army like Dujek One Arm, Admiral Nock, Coltane, Greymane. Korab said, here on this night, they don't face any of those leaders. Leoman said this was true. They faced Tavor Paran, who was personally chosen by the Empress to act as the first fist of vengeance. Korab shrugged and asked if she also didn't choose High Fist Pormqual or Corbolo Dam. Didn't she also demote Whiskey Jack, the fiercest Malazan their tribe had ever faced? And if those tales were to be believed, she was also responsible for the assassination of Dassam Altor. Leoman said he was right. She was not without her errors in judgment. So in that case, she should pay for them. Leoman turned and signaled his warriors forward. Korab smiled and thought maybe the spirits would look down on him favorably. Maybe he would find a worthy axe among the many dead Malazans this night. I think I only got a couple here. Greymane. Is that the guy that we heard about in Midnight Tides? Or Memories of Ice? They called him the Bringer of Midnight Tides?
No,
Not the guy that died 1,000 deaths or whatever?
in Boschlin and Corbel Brooch, blood follows.
Oh, is that where it was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did not remember where. It just sounded familiar.
But I want to say that you are right. They did kind of clump Greymane in with that section in Memories of Ice. But I think that they were saying that Greymane potentially fought against the Bringer of Midnight Tides or something like that. I could be wrong.
Oh, maybe that does sound kind of familiar now that you mentioned it. Maybe you're right.
But I also feel like in Blood Follows, they said that he died fighting something or another.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. Community, feel free to correct this. Without spoilers, of course.
I like, so, we've got this conversation going between Korab and Leoman. We get these list of these leaders, Dujek and Coltane and everybody else. And Korab is like, yeah, we're not fighting any of those dudes. And Leoman's like, yeah, we're fighting Tavor Paran, personally chosen by the Empress. And I kind of like that Leoman is thinking about this. And it makes me wonder if he's going to, flip sides.
How do you think he's going to flip sides? Just because he's thinking about all the great leaders or what?
Well, in the last, I feel this way a lot because of the last section, where it's like, you need to, send a writer back to Shaik, tell her, I can't remember all the things, that Corbolo Dom's plan isn't going to work. You don't trust his tactics and whatever else he says. It's like, it doesn't matter because it's not going to make a difference, but people need to witness that you're saying this. And so That makes me wonder. It makes me think maybe he's gonna ditch and flip sides or something.
I don't think he's going to ditch. I think that he's just recognizing how terrible the leader Corbolo Dam is, because he's grouped in with all of Lucine's terrible decisions that they know of, right? Right? Because he's listing them off with high fist Pormqual, demoting Whiskey Jack. That was a bad move, even though he's one of the fiercest these tribes have seen, right? But also, she's responsible for the assassination of Desam. So I think that he's just kind of like realizing at that end, right? Like, we got some problems because Corbolo's not very good, but also between then and here, they also kind of get a measure of Tavor. Whereas at this moment in time, they're grouping her in with High Fist Pormcall, Corbolo Dom. They're grouping her with the bad decisions, and they haven't really seen her measure yet.
And I know he says like, I'll be back 3 days before the battle. I'm gonna see what this adjunct's moves are. However that was worded, right?
I think, yeah.
Gonna test her. Part of me thinks like, okay, like if you are not confident in Corbolo Dom, do you want to have to play like the hero on that? Like, it seems like he would have to be the one to rescue the fight for the Whirlwind side. Or he joins Tabor and they beat the crap out of Corbolo Dom's forces in the world.
I mean, maybe. I think it's a smaller likelihood that would happen. I think
Leoman hates going through my head.
No, I mean, these are good. These are things that I definitely didn't expect. Yeah, I guess interesting. I'm wondering where that will likely go, but I'm gonna probably stick with the canon that he knows that Corbolo Dom is going to do it wrong. But also, this kind of ties in a little bit to last chapter where they're talking about cold iron and how Leoman and Karza are the only ones that really have it, and how they were destined to fail because everyone there is hot iron. And now Leoman is like maybe having that recognition as well, but just not told to us in the same way.
Sure.
Yeah. And did we have any other thoughts for section 6? Or are we good?
I believe we are good.
Okay. Section 7 here. Borduke's squad had found a small hill for their position. They cursed as they crawled their way to the modest summit. They began digging holes and repositioning rocks. Their hill was likely an old barrow. The humps around the hill were far too regular to be natural. 20 paces away, Fiddler listened to the 6 squad Marines muttering and shuffling about on their strong point, their efforts highlighted by Borduke's impatient growl. 50 paces to the west, another squad was digging on another hill, and Fiddler began to wonder if they waited too long. Barrows tended to be big heaps of rocks beneath the sandy soil, so burrowing into them wasn't easy. He heard shovels upon stone and stones rolling down hills. He thought to himself about how clumsy do those idiots have to be. And while this is a pretty short section, it is very much the beginning of setting the scene, right? And so I thought this was a clever way of explaining to us readers about how Fiddler was able to decipher how they were progressing purely based on the growls he would hear from Borduke. And I thought that while that was information or informative, it was also kind of funny too.
Nothing to add.
Okay. All right. And then lastly, I think that this is interesting because he thinks to himself about how clumsy do those idiots have to be. Because at this point in time, you don't know what's coming, right? But after you read the chapter, you go back and you're like, clearly the noise, they're intentionally being noisy to try to lure the Apocalypse Army. But then why does Fiddler have concerns then? Was this luck that it didn't turn as disastrous as it could have been? Or that part to me felt off.
Or maybe he just doesn't know the full scope of the plan, but I agree with you.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like he's kind of the one that had concocted it.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Well,
Maybe it's just like an old soldier thing, like, oh, they're making too much noise. It's just hard to break that like habit. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I guess outside of that, those are all the only thoughts that I had for that very, very short section.
All right, we'll keep cruising along. Korab was about to move to the next spot of cover, but Leoman grabbed his shoulder and Korab froze. He could hear it. There were soldiers in the basin. Leoman came to his side and set outlying pickets on the barrows. It seems she had sent them a gift after all. Listen to them stumble around. They waited too long, and now they are stuck in the dark. It wasn't hard to find the Malazans. They had taken place in all the barrows and were making a lot of noise digging into them. Korab recognized that they were too far apart to be of any help to one another. Each could be isolated and dealt with, every soldier slaughtered before help could come. Korab figured the Malazans were anticipating a pre-dawn attack like the first, so the adjutant had ordered these encampments as a preemptive measure. However, Leoman had explained that every element in the field needed to follow the rules of mutual support, even these pickets, where first contact would happen. The adjunct had failed to apply this basic principle. This, in addition to her blunder with the Seti, only showed Korab she was incompetent. Korab adjusted the grip on his sword. He was only 15 paces away from the closest encampment. He could see the helmets on the soldiers poking out of the holes in the ground. He concentrated on slowing his breathing and waited for the signal. I think I've only got one thought here. A chapter 2 back, we got kind of the order of operations of things. I think it was talking about Corvolo Dom at that point, about he wanted to slaughter everybody.
Yep.
Before what? I don't remember exactly.
Victory.
There you go. So I just feel like Korab's getting ahead of himself here.
Seems to be a theme, isn't it?
With the side of things on the apocalypse side.
Yep.
It does a little bit. Yeah, they're overconfident, I think.
So in my mind, I'm thinking everybody's in this like huge basin, right? So I'm just gonna say everyone's in a cereal bowl. And inside of the cereal bowl, there are two distinct humps within the cereal bowl with a bunch of little bumps around it, right? So when they're talking about these picket lines, are these like on the ridge behind, like the backside of the bowl behind the barrows? Like, I don't, this is like Leoman explaining the element in the field needed to follow the rules of mutual support. And even these pickets where first contact would happen. You know what I mean? So like, I'm confused as to like, I know what a picket line is. I'm assuming that they're either in front of the barrows or behind the barrows.
I thought they're just kind of on top, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't make or break anything. Like, you can still get like a very good overall idea on what happened, but I feel like I'm just missing some smaller explanatory details. That's all.
I don't know how much help will be on this one.
And that's fine. That's fine. And this is where like I loved what Graceless Passion did with the Dead House Gates battles, making it so, adding that visual element for folks like me. I would love to see him do something like this.
Come on, Graceless. Waiting for you to catch up here.
I will help. I will help you, dude. I will offer my artistic abilities as much as I can. Even my editing and my animation stuff, be happy to help.
There you go. Teamwork makes the dream work.
All right. Next section. Are you ready? Sorry, I didn't.
Yep. Nope. You're all good, man. All good.
All right. Section 9 here. Gamut stopped at the edge of a now empty marine camp. A quiet call was sent out to awaken the cutter and the healers. A precautionary measure as there was no way to predict when the raiders would attack. However, given that all other angles held their natural obstacles or were easily defensible, the war leader might balk at the obvious invitation. As he waited to start to think that nothing good would come of this game, at least not tonight, what were the chances of another day's march bringing the army to an ideal landscape and timing? He settled back into his saddle, his mind still foggy. The night, if anything, had grown darker. The stars struggled to light the sky. A cape moth fluttered in front of his face, causing him to flinch. He thought to himself that this was an omen. He righted himself. 3 hours remained before dawn. There would be no recall, so the Marines would take shifts on the wagons come the march tomorrow. He thought to himself that he better do the same if they were to repeat this. So again, another little shorty. And again, so these first kind of comments maybe play hand in hand together. And it seems like, based on their location, is that they have ideal natural defenses as well as areas that are more easily defended if they were here instead of somewhere else. So it almost kind of seems like Gamut is wondering if Leoman is kind of seeing the fact that naturally the Malazans have the better ground, if that makes sense. So he's kind of wondering if he would scoff at this obvious invitation, but it doesn't seem like he does. So
No.
I just thought that was kind of cool. Going along the lines with like, well, we kind of need to do this now because we don't know where we're going to end up tomorrow. We may not have as good of land or an easily defensible, area, so to speak. So we need to move now and show them our measure, show them our mettle, right?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like they got the ideal setup. Yeah, you might not get that again.
Right, exactly. And Cape Moth, from what I remember as an omen, they're associated with hood and death, right?
I think it was, yeah.
Okay. So he's seeing an omen of death.
Maybe.
Yeah. It doesn't really specify. I mean, that could be a good thing, right? Or it could be a very bad thing.
Or it could be nothing.
Or it could be nothing. And then this last part where they're like, there would be no recall. So the Marines would take shifts on the wagon come the march tomorrow. And I'm not exactly sure what that means. Like, is it because the Marines are gone? So therefore they can't be recalled for them to come back to the wagon to sleep in shifts? I mean, that's kind of what my initial thought. I don't know what recall necessarily means in this situation.
Yeah, because you had all the squads or, whatever. You had all the units out there. And I think this is what they were referring to when they said that they would be like working double. So they're kind of pulling double duty.
Oh, gotcha. So they still have to protect the wagons.
Well, I think they're just going to be out there all night.
I see. Okay. So they're basically saying that they won't be available to take shifts at the wagons because they're working double.
Yeah, they're going to be out there in case the Raiders show up.
All right. Fair enough.
And if they're out there all night and they don't show up, then they get to sleep in shifts after that.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you for that breakdown.
That's what I thought anyways. I don't know if that's right, but that's kind of
it makes sense to me. I mean, at least that answers my question. So that's all I care about.
All right.
I'm ready to move on if you are.
All right. Another short one here. A wolf howl broke the silence of the night. Even though Korab had been waiting for it, it still startled him and he froze for a moment. On both sides of him, soldiers rose and ran towards the Malazan camp. Arrows were shot and hit the visible helmets. Korab saw one of them spin and realized it wasn't attached to a head. He was suddenly very uneasy. War cries filled the air and heavily armed figures rose up from the barrows, crossbows being leveled. A bolt struck the ground just to Korab's side, a detonation rang in his ears, and the blast sent him into a bush. There were more explosions, and flames lit up the night.
Things are getting intense.
Yep. They walked into a trap.
Yep. It's interesting to be this far in a book and like this kind of being like our first scuffle.
Or like the first one we're kind of getting like to like actually see.
Right. Yeah. To read about per se.
Right.
All right. Next section here. At the wolf's howl, Fiddler made himself as flat as possible beneath the cloak of sand and brush. Just in time, too, as a foot thumped down on his back as a raider ran over him. The barrows had done their job, drawing the attackers into isolated positions. One of the 3 squads had shown their face to the enemy. The remaining 2 had left earlier to take cover between the barrows. Now the trap was sprung and the Apocalypse army was charging. Fiddler lifted his head and saw several figures with their backs towards him. Their charge was slowing as they were met with arrows from Borduke's position at the top. Fiddler hissed to his surrounding comrades to get up. His soldiers rose, shedding sand and dust. Crouching low, Custer-filled crossbow in hand, Fiddler set out away from Borduke's position. Gessler's Marines were well equipped to support Borduke's position at the barrow. Fiddler had seen around 200 of the enemy skirting the edge of the basin, to flank the ambush. If they were successful in overrunning the infantry picket stationed there, they could easily gain access to the supply camp. He grinned as he heard the sharpers going off behind him, along with a deadly whoosh of burners filling the basin with red. The raid had been stopped in its tracks, and confusion started to spread amongst the attackers. Fiddler and the 5 trailing Marines reached the base of the slope. They got halfway up the ridge when Fiddler signaled them to stop. Cuddle scrambled up next to him and whispered that they wouldn't have to duck for this one. Fiddler aimed a crossbow well above the crest line. He drew breath and slowly squeezed the trigger. A Custer leapt away in an arc up and over the ridge and then was out of sight. Bodies were thrown in the air as the explosion hit. Cuddle snapped to the others to get their crossbows ready. He wasn't able to finish what he was going to say because the crest of the ridge was suddenly overrun with figures from the raiding party. Fiddler shouted to his crew to get back. So I only have one comment on this section, and it's a little longer, but it's just me trying to work out how I'm envisioning everything that's taking place. I loved the trickery in the section with Fiddler and them hiding under the sand as the raiders attacked. I think that this section can be a little confusing if you're not paying attention, because I think its purpose is to lead the viewer to Fiddler and the 5 distracting the raiders from overtaking the picket lines guarding the supply language. It's not centered around the fighting on the 2 barrows. So when Fiddler gets up, he sends Gessler's Marines to attack from behind, while Borduke's fighters push down. And then Fiddler and a few others sneak away from the fighting to take out the 200 and so raiders they saw on the ridge near the picket lines. I don't know. Is that kind of the sense that you got? Or, yeah, again, I feel like he's taking a few away from the main battle to go take care of people on the picket lines, or to go help with the picket lines.
I guess I am not sure. I was going to try to reread this chapter this morning, and I didn't get a chance to. So, yeah, I don't know that I really have an answer. I don't remember really feeling like too confused about it, but I don't really know.
I mean, these are smaller, like I said earlier, these are smaller details, just of positioning and, my own ignorance of the surrounding, right? Like, I don't hang out in desert basins all day, right? Like, I have no reference for that.
You should. I guess you should.
Maybe. But yeah, so I thought it was cool. I mean, he's essentially, they've sprung the trap. They're not engaging in the trap. They're going to go help out, is kind of what I gathered. And so he fires his Custer up there and blows up a shit ton of people and attracts a lot of attention.
And then they got to fall back.
Right. That's pretty much all you really need to know. I guess I'm just looking for like the detailed nuances.
Sorry, I'm not doing a very good job today.
It's okay. I'm sure that like during a reread, I'll pick it up better.
All right. Well, ready to keep plugging along?
Plus daily.
All right. Korad drug himself free from the bush, swearing as he got to his feet. Bodies of his comrades littered the ground around him. There had been more Malazans hidden between the barrels, and now he could hear the Kundril behind them. They were in light armor. They had been ready and waiting for them. He looked for Leoman, but couldn't find him among the figures backlit by the flames. It was time, he thought, to withdraw. He grabbed his sword and ran for the ridge. He found himself among a squad of Marines. Shouts quickly followed. Korab was punched in the face with a shield, his face bleeding all over as he swung his sword, and it struck something hard and broke at the hilt. Korab landed on the ground, and a passing soldier left something in his lap. Just up the ridge, another explosion, the loudest yet, had shook him. Stunned and left blinking tears, he saw a clay ball roll off his lap in between his legs. It was smoking. He rolled to his side and found a discarded helm, grabbed it and rolled back over and slammed it over the sharper and closed his eyes. Kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't know, I think of those dudes, in war who would, a grenade got chucked in and they would lay their body over it. Obviously he's using a helmet. I think it would be hard to fight that fight or flee instinct at that point, because I'm sure your first instinct is I gotta run.
Yep.
But you can't, because you're not gonna make it.
Right. What do you do next?
Cover it up, I guess. But I don't think I had really any thoughts, I mean, that wasn't even anything I jotted down, just something kind of coming right off the top of the head there.
Yeah. These were all very quick.
Yep.
As the squad continued its retreat, the slope behind it a mass of bodies from Fiddler's second cusser, with Kundrel now crashing into the flank of the remaining attackers. Cuddle grabbed Fiddler's shoulder and pulled him around. Cuddle said that the bastard that Korik knocked down was about to get a surprise. Fiddler looked at the figure getting up. They watched in surprise as the man rolled over, found a helmet, and jumped back on top of it. The detonation lifted the man in the air on a 6-foot-high flame. The man had managed to hang on to the helm, and the fire sent him higher and higher until it was over. The man fell back to the ground, kicking up dust as he landed. Cuddle began to ask what they would do now, when he and Fiddler watched in amazement as the man got up, looked around, grabbed a lance, and bolted back up the slope.
I mean, what else could you do but look in amazement?
I mean, what's funny is I envisioned this in two different ways. I envisioned this old school cartoon, where it's just kind of coming back down. And then I also imagined it very seriously. So it was just kind of interesting in my mind that I got this almost comical, but then contrasted with oh shit, you are lucky,
I get what you mean, because there is fighting in this chapter, but it doesn't feel like the fighting that we've seen before. I don't want to say it's less serious, but maybe it's more I don't even know if lighthearted would be a good way to say it, but it doesn't feel like the stakes are there in some of the other fighting scenes we've seen.
I mean, yeah, you're kind of right though. What are the stakes? I mean, there's nothing on the line. They're not overtaking anything. It's just a raid, right? From what we saw in Dead House Gates, this is the run of the mill in Seven Cities, is that you're constantly attacked.
Just fighting back a little bit.
Yeah.
That's kind of all.
So yeah, very interesting. But I mean, that was my only thought.
All right. This one's a little bit longer, but still fairly short.
Yeah.
Gamut drove the horse down into the basin on the west side, opposite where the Kundrel had come from. 3 knots of raiders had managed to weather the Malazan attacks and push the Malazans back onto the barrow. Gamut saw his soldiers dragging wounded back to the trenches, while 10 or so Marines were left fighting, trying to hold back the raiders. Gamut drew his sword and made for the fighting Marines. As he arrived, 2 Marines went down from the attackers, and the barrow was overrun. The fog in his mind suddenly returned. A soldier yelled at him and told him to get out of there. He thought to himself that there were too many voices, screams of the dying. Darkness is closing in, and my soldiers are dying. Everywhere. It's failed. My plan has failed. At that moment, a dozen raiders pushed past him. To his right was another squad of Marines, as if they were on the way to relieve the overrun barrel, but they were sprinting to him. Gamut didn't understand. He didn't want them to run to him. He wanted them to go to his soldiers. He saw something fly from one of the Marines' hands as two raiders threw lances at him. There, the knight exploded. He felt his horse lift from the ground, pushing him down over the back of the saddle. His senses came back on the ground, and he realized he had been on a horse. Now it was exploded and gone. Gessler came to his side and asked if he could hear him. Gamut said yes, and he thought. Gessler cut him off, saying they had dropped them and they needed to get him to a healer. Gamut said not to worry, to tend to the others on the barrel. Gessler said they were and called Pella to help with the fist. When Pella arrived, Gamut thought he was much too young and that he would ask the adjunct to send him home, back to his mother and father. He should not have to die. Gamut spoke to Pella, saying he should not need to die. Pella didn't understand. Gessler said he was rattled. He had only his horse between him and the Cusser blast. Gamut thought again to himself. He wasn't addled. His mind was clear, and all these soldiers were too young. This was Lacine's war. Let her fight it. And Tavor, she was a child once, but then the Empress murdered that child. He must tell the adjunct. So, right after we get done saying, like, the fighting isn't, like, as serious and other like, this does feel kind of serious.
Did you mention, I guess I don't remember it now, but did you mention that he couldn't feel his legs? Did you summarize that?
In this section?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
I did not.
Okay.
But, I mean, yeah, he essentially has a grenade go off underneath his horse, so yeah,
right.
He's hurting a little bit.
Right, yeah, because they shot it into the group of the raiders attacking him. Yeah.
No, I guess I don't know why I didn't summarize that. I guess I just didn't.
Oh, I mean, it's fine. Maybe you are right. Maybe there is only one barrel. I don't know where I got it in my head that there's two.
I don't know. I mean, it's not anything I'm hung up on if there's one or two.
Maybe that might add to my confusion on the layout. But it also undermines my Joyful Union comparison too. But whatever.
Well, that was a good comparison, though.
Yeah. They did kind of split, right? So.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Well, just two things. So, Gamut, he doesn't understand why, like, these soldiers are running towards him. He wants them to go help the other guys, which it's probably too late for, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is kind of what makes him a good leader, even if he doesn't think he is. Like, he cares more about his guys than he cares about himself. Personally, to me, like, that's probably one characteristic of a good leader, like that selflessness.
Yeah.
Because you don't always find that. Whether it's a boss at a job helping you out with something, even if it, like, puts your boss behind on their work, on other stuff, but they're helping you complete whatever it is you're doing. Like, that's what a good boss should do. Yes, I would say lead by example. I feel like there's a saying there, but I can't think of it. Just leading by example. Like, to me, that's leading by example is big. And then let's see, Gamut, yeah, after he just gets grenaded here, he's thinking about Pella and how just this kid's too young and he's going to ask the adjunct to send him back home, back to his mother and father. This kid shouldn't have to die. I think Gamut might be becoming a favorite character here in this book for me.
I can see that. He's starting to grow on me too. But I kind of wonder about his fate because based on this section, I feel like he doesn't have any legs.
I think he does have legs. They're just shredded because I don't remember whose section it's in, if it was in mine, if I even summarized it. But I think they talk about how they took out, a bunch of shards from his leg. So it's beat up pretty good, but I thought he still had them.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't know. I think it was just maybe the sense of severity in this initial section where he's just like, I went to go use my legs and like felt no response. So like, I don't know. It just kind of it gave me like paralyzed vibe, but I could totally see that too. So.
Well, maybe, yeah, I don't know. He could be.
Yeah.
He's in bad shape. He's a hurting unit.
Yep. He's a little fucked up.
Yep. That's all I got.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll move on to our next section. My second to last here. Fid sat down next to the unlit hearth and set his crossbow down. Cuddle sat next to him. He stated that Coric's head still hurt, but it doesn't look like anything is broken. Fiddler replied that his helm was the only thing broken. Cuddle said that this was the only real scrap for their squad tonight, and the guys didn't even die. Fiddler said it was because Cuddle got too cute. Cuddle said that it must just be because he's getting older. Or Fiddler said that this was his exact thought, and next time to just stab the fucker and be over with it. Cuddle said that he was still amazed that the fucker survived all that. The Kundrel pursued beyond the ridge, and what was a raid on the Malazans turned into a tribal war. 2 hours remained before dawn, and the infantry moved out into the basin to collect the belongings from the dead, to make sure that nothing could be used by the enemy raiders. Gessler appeared out of the darkness and popped a squat next to them. Cuddle was heard saying that he heard a position was overrun. Gessler said that they had it at first, but the raiders closed in fast. Most of the poor bastards could have walked away, but only 4 did. Fiddler looked up and asked, out of 3 squads? Gessler nodded and spat into the ashes. Silence followed. Cuddle grunted and said that something always goes wrong. Gessler collected his things and then rose. He said that it could be worse. Fiddler and Cuddle watched the man leave. Cuddle asked Fiddler if he knew what had happened. Fiddler said that he didn't know, but he imagines that they'll find out soon enough. He tells Cuddle to get Captain Tar and to fetch the others. He wants to go over what they did wrong. Cuddle asked if he would start with them being led up the slope. Fiddler grimaced and said that yes, he would start with that. Cuddle said that if he hadn't, though, more raiders would have flowed into the breach and added to the numbers of the overrun barrow. The Cusser Fid lobbed up had done its job to distract the raiders long enough for the Kundrel to ride in. Fiddler said that even so, if they had been alongside Gessler, maybe they could have saved a few more Marines. Cuddle said that he could have messed up more. And Fiddler knew better than to talk like that. Fiddler said that he guessed Cuddle was right, but instructed the sapper to go gather everyone up. So, again, maybe it's just my skewed vision on, like, the landscape and how everything is devised up, but Fiddler, I'm just as shocked as Fiddler. Like, of four people out of 3 squads survived. So that makes me confused because I'm under the impression that more than 4 people are left. They say squads, but in my mind, I'm thinking 1 squad for each barrow, and then another squad buried in the sand between the 2 barrows. Or are those bigger than squads? Are those companies? Like, are there 3 companies with 3 squads each? Like, I can see maybe 4 people left of a squad whose barrow was overrun. And it, again, doesn't really deter on the visuals or the order of things, but it just messes with the smaller details for me.
Well, I just looked it up, and again, this is just what Google told me, but it says like a squad is usually like 8 to 14 soldiers.
Okay. So is it 1 squad per barrow?
And then they spread some out in between here and there.
Yeah. Well, because earlier it said out of 3 squads, only 1 of them had revealed themselves to the company. So maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So maybe there really is only 1 barrow.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's 1 or 2.
I don't know. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It still works whether it's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then my last thought is, I feel like Fiddler saved the 4 that were left, because had the raiders followed that breach to overrun the barrow instead of being distracted by his cussers, all of them would be dead instead of 4 surviving.
Right. And this, I feel like, what were we talking about here just a little while ago? Like, I don't know, dude. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was going with it.
Think of it, just let me know.
Yeah, you can always second guess your decisions if you made the right one or not. At the end of the day, like, especially, I would imagine, like, in the heat of battle, like, if you do something, you're probably thinking, at the time, it's the right thing to do, even if it's something really stupid. Maybe it's not, but at the time, it feels right.
Yeah, it's like an instinct.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Well, ready for my last one here?
I am.
Okay, sorry, I was lost here. 16. Gamut looked at the adjunct as she entered the cutter's tent. She was pale, likely from the lack of sleep. Gamut said he wouldn't complain. The adjunct didn't know what he was talking about. He said the removal of his command. The adjunct said he was careless in placing himself in danger. That was hardly a reason to demote him. Gamut said his presence changed the trajectory of some of the Marines. To save him, they would have saved more soldiers instead. His presence cost lives. She was silent for a moment before speaking. She told him every engagement takes lives, and that this is the burden of command. Did he think this war would be won without the spilling of blood? He winced in pain as he was hit with a wave from the forced healing. They had removed a dozen clay shards from his leg, the muscle shredded, but even at that, he knew he had the lady's luck that night, though the same couldn't be said for his horse. He told the adjutant he used to be a common soldier, but he no longer is, and he discovered that tonight. As for being a fist, well, commanding house guards was a fair representation of his skills. An entire legion? No. He apologized to the adjutant. She looked at him and nodded. She said it would take some time for him to heal. Which of his captains would he promote temporarily? He thought this was the correct way it should happen. He spoke Keneb's name to the adjutant. She agreed and said she had to leave. The Kundral were returning. Gamut said he hoped they had trophies. She nodded, and he said that was well. So obviously, like, Gamut, he made a split-second choice, right, with his presence,
Mm-hmm.
and it cost him lives. But it's just like every little thing, every choice you make, other people are making choices too, and if you change one thing, how is that going to change everything else? And like you just never get to know. So it probably doesn't stop you from wondering what could have been. And sometimes it's kind of like a hard deal to like live with that.
Yeah, but I mean, his choice also distracted a bunch of raiders, and they focused their attention on him. So, I mean, he did something.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Oh.
I think he's struggling with this
He's being too hard on
command.
himself.
Yeah, he's being hard on himself. Like he's not used to this.
Right. That's fair. Yeah, I feel a little bad for Gamut. So I hope that he learns from his mistakes, right? And gets better.
Well, he's gonna have some time as he's probably gonna be resting up here for a little bit. I wonder how we'll see him for the rest of the book.
Right. Yeah. And I wonder how Keneb is gonna do.
I think he'll probably do fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, should we bring her home?
Yeah.
All right. The sun was at its peak when Karab reined in next to Leoman. Other warriors were sporadically staggering in, and it could take a few days for all of them to return. Because of the light armor, the Kundral were able to stay right behind their prey and prove themselves to be great warriors. The ambush had been reversed, and the message had been clear. They had underestimated the adjunct. Korab growled that Leoman's initial suspicions were right about the Empress choosing wisely. Leoman turned his head and spat. Korab continued on and cursed the Marines. As had it not been for their granados and crossbows, they would have taken the Malazans out. He continues to talk about the crossbows the Marines were using. Leoman tells him to shut up, as he has a task for Korab. He instructs the man to find a worthy messenger and grab 3 horses and make his way back to Shaik. The messenger is to inform Shaik that he is continuing his raid, looking for a pattern in how the adjunct responds, and he will join the Chosen One 3 days before the Malazan army arrives. He adds that he no longer trusts Corporal Odhan's strategy for the day of battle, nor his tactics. Leoman knows that Shaik will not listen, but it must be said while there are witnesses to hear. Karab says that he understands and that he would find the fastest rider among them. Leoman tells him to be gone. So I know we touched on that a little bit, so I don't really know if I have much to follow up on that, but I feel like Leoman's going to poke the bear a bit more just to see how she responds and see if there's a pattern to it. I don't think he's going to find a pattern.
I don't think so either. I think I would agree with that.
Yeah. It's kind of cool how we get like a sense of composure from Tavor. I know at the beginning of the book we were really questioning whether she could do this or not, but I totally think she can.
She is doing it, yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's really her making mistakes, but rather just dumb choices a lot lower down the chain.
Yeah. But like you said, it's
Par for the course, right?
just what happens in the heat of the moment, I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, I don't know. But it makes me I wonder about Leoman still. We'll see what happens, I guess. It's not anything I'm like super convinced on. It's just kind of in the back of my mind a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going to be thinking about that moving forward because it's definitely like very abstract thought. So maybe there's something there.
Perhaps we'll find out or not.
Yeah. Or not. It'll just fall to the wayside. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things that we predicted that just we don't know.
Nothing comes from them.
No, not at all. Where do you think this is going to go?
Like, who are we to see next?
Yeah. Where do you think we're going to go next?
I'm not sure. I'm not. What did we have last chapter? I mean, before this one.
Last chapter was Shaik's camp.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if we'll see Karsa or not, or if he'll just be absent. Maybe we'll get. God, I can't even remember our characters' names right now.
Alam, Lasara, Crocus, Absalar.
Oh yeah, we haven't seen. I feel like it's been a while since we've seen them. Troll
Yeah. Troll, Onrak.
and Onrak, yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I don't imagine it's going to be Karza. Yeah, what is the last? Yeah, because that was 2 chapters ago, right?
He got his horse, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he'll be not next, but after that. But
If
I
we
could
see
be
him at
wrong.
all.
If we see him at all, right? It may just repeat the Shaik camp, Tavor, Kalam, Lasara, and then just kind of switch between the 3. So, but yeah, it would be kind of cool to see Kalam's entrance into the whirlwind, and where that takes him. I'm assuming Lestara, Gil, and Pearl are still chilling somewhere in the Odhan, so maybe they make their way closer to Shaik's camp too. Crocus, Absalar, from what I understand, is the last we left off with them, they were taking a boat out to the Edor ships or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I think that's right. Yeah, because they were leaving the island.
yep, they were leaving Drift Valley. Yeah, well, I guess we'll find out. Well, I'll find out shortly. I don't know if you're going to read, but I'm going to go upstairs and open my book and start re-adding.
I'm not sure what I'm going to do here.
So
I had a cheese stick. I'm probably going to eat something a little more. But
nice.
yeah, let me know what you think when you start reading, and hopefully tonight I can read it. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was great to catch up with you. Talk to you as always.
Yeah,
Good to finally get back into it. Nice to be able to finally move on.
it's been a little bit.
Hopefully we can wrap this up before my birthday, sometime before the 3rd of September. Be done with this book.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. I guess might be close.
I'm not worried about it, but yeah, let's start a new book for the year and keep rolling, keep chooching.
That's right. All right, man. Well, have a good rest of your Saturday, and we will talk soon.
Sounds good, dude.
Take it easy, man.
Bye.
Bye.
DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's Epic Quest. quest. CNJ's epic quest. CNJ's epic quest. CNJ's epic quest. CNJ's epic quest.